And welcome
All right, welcome
back.
back to the Daily
That's
90.
right. And today we're going to talking about technology, if I'm not mistaken, Tommy. Yes.
Can you read that?
Technology is amazing, and so are your kids.
Yes, good
And how
one.
your kids? Oh, I can't see this.
Okay,
I'm sorry. You
let
have
me
to
read
take
this one, all
over.
right? How your amazing kids use amazing technology may amaze you, but technology can also be harmful. And do you know how kids use technology today, and how do you talk to them about online pornography?
That's right.
And how do you start the conversation?
I think that's every parent's nightmare, but it's a must to do it.
All right.
Now, joining us today in the studio is Lucian Teo, user education and
Outreach
specialist
specialist.
from Google Asia Pacific, to talk more about parenting internet generations in the digital era. That's
All right.
right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Lucian, what do you think about this issue? How harmful internet can be for kids?
I think the internet is something that is here to stay. I mean, it's a technology that we all use. So it's a tool. It's not harmful in itself. It is not good in itself. It's how we use it. You know, and when we bring technology into the family, as parents, we have, I think, the responsibility to lead them the right way and to teach them how technology can be used for so much good and how to avoid the bad things.
But is it important to introduce technology to your children, and from how old to how old?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's no set age. It depends from family to family. I mean, some introduce them slightly earlier, but what we're talking about is probably parents should be more involved in the introduction of technology and the internet to children, as opposed to just letting them kind of run on their own.
And how do you see the parents these days in regards of, doing a good way for with internet, for example?
So I mean, we've seen many great parents who like watch YouTube videos with their kids, you know, and then they go through things like, and they actually actively source out stuff for their children to watch and their children to learn. So even at home, my wife watches some amazing YouTube videos that do things like experiments with chemicals and all that, and she says that some things are safe, let's bring it home, and then the children try it out on the kitchen table, make a mess, clean up, you know, but they learn a lot.
So it's important for the parents to actually know and research first what is going to be shown to the children, instead of just letting the children watch it all together.
Yeah.
But parents these days, how do they actually deal with it? Because, you know, we're all working parents, we don't have enough time, you know, and when we do, we don't really opt for using the internet.
And
right?
they're aware enough to use this easily, right?
Yes, and sometimes they steal it from your hand as well.
I think when we have children, it's good to set boundaries early. So I wouldn't advocate like just passing them a device and going like, you go crazy, do whatever you want.
Okay.
You know, but you can set things like, let's start with maybe when they're very young, you can show them, but don't let them control it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You know, and then slowly as they grow older, you give them a bit more freedom, rather than at the very start they control everything and they get to use it. So it's a matter of age appropriateness.
Is there any certain things that we could do actually to prevent, well, for example, in your applications or in your gadget, for example, to put, you know, like to set up some
To protect, to
it.
safeguard or safe lock.
So on Google search, like to prevent maybe the worst kind of results from coming up, you can turn on safe search. It's in the
Safe
settings.
search. All right.
Yeah. So if you scroll down to the bottom, the settings, click on settings, and then you can turn on the safe search filters. It should filter out most of the bad things. In YouTube, there's restricted mode, so you can
Yes,
turn that on
I
as
did,
well.
yeah.
I mean, it's not 100%. It does weed out most of the stuff. But I always advocate the parents, when your children use technology, to be with them.
Be with
Or
them,
so
right?
not leave them alone, which is can be quite of scary, because nowadays, even in some, you know, some videos, you actually find a man and a woman in, you know, dressed in Spider-Man or some cartoon, but they were actually not behaving, you know, I would say correctly as what a child is supposed to watch. And how do you is it able to be filtered in the internet, that video itself?
Or maybe language.
Yeah.
Sure. So I mean, in YouTube, we're doing our best to make the videos as family friendly as possible. I mean, especially when you turn on the settings, things should work. So we have a team, and we are actively looking into new technologies to kind of help take these out, you know, and make it a good experience for all users.
How about Google search?
In Google search?
Yes.
So safe search, I mean, it filters out a lot of things like malware. For example, if you search for something and you want to download and you're not sure if it does anything bad to your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get the huge red warning. I don't know if you've seen it before. Warning, malware.
Like the
hit.
threat that comes
Yeah, so
out,
when you
pops
see
out,
that,
yeah.
take it seriously. Don't just ignore it, because it really means that something behind it is not good for you.
All right, but I believe that all these setups actually based on what happens in the back of years. So, is there any cases that you could share with us, the dangers that could happen to kids when they actually try to look at the technology, something like that?
So I mean, a lot of kids, they always want to download new games, they want to download new apps, and sometimes they see like free or something like that, and they just follow the links, and they end up downloading malware for your phone, and then end up your phone doesn't work, or viruses and things like that. So it's I guess being there and turning on so they can't install. These things do help. Yeah.
And what about issues such as maybe, you know, that's viruses, but what about issues such as the pornography? Is that a big issue right now in terms of, you know, are children facing a lot of that in the internet?
I think it's not just children. I think as society we face a lot of it. And I mean, it's something that we need to decide, can we avoid it forever? Or do we then talk to our children about the values we want to inculcate in them?
So can we avoid it? That's the first question.
I don't think we can ever avoid it. I mean, even when we were young, right? We didn't have the internet, but
Try to seek more.
it is hard.
Curiosity kills a
That's
cat,
right.
yeah?
That's right, that's right.
That's for children, right? But let's say integrating like, you know, technology into daily life for the family, but yet trying to protect the children from all this kind of, you know, like say porn, anything that they're exposed to, radicalism, violence,
Yes.
and all that that's happening right now. How is that? Is that possible though right now?
I mean, what I do for my family, and I advise many families to do this, is use technology for good. So if we occupy their time and show them how technology can be used to create wonderful things like cartoons, movies, you know, there are many apps you can use these days to do all of that. And when they're occupied with that, they're less likely to look for other stuff. Yeah, so that's how I deal with it.
All right, but now these days, education institution, for example, they use Google as an account for students as well. And how do we control this in terms of, you know, for those kids to use it properly?
I mean, it's like part of schoolwork, is that what you mean? So part of schoolwork, I think everybody needs to learn how to use technology. I think we would be handicapping them if we didn't allow them to learn, right? So we can teach them, we can get them to be involved in, let's say, societies or religious organizations that we feel is part of our family values, and then get them to use technology there. Like how do you use, like create a newsletter for your pet society or something like that, you know, and we always lead them towards how to use technology for good. When we do encounter like pornography, encounter hate speech and all that, it's a great time for parents to jump in and talk about the issue, as opposed to pretending it doesn't exist. We come in and say, these things are out there in the world, and because I want to teach you the right values, how to deal with them. You know, I think that's a great conversation every parent should have with the child.
So we have to actually communicate with them actively towards any kind of issues that that may be applied in.
So not
information
take
in the
this
digital era.
exposure away from them completely, but just, you know, let them understand. Let's say for children who are in a younger age, like you say 3, 4, now a lot of parents are exposing them to the internet and technology as well. Do you think it's wise though? Or is it okay to wait for a bit longer until they're about, you know, proper age?
I know you mentioned there's no certain age,
Yeah,
but is there any limitation for that though?
I mean, from a personal point of view, I think that when they're 3 or 4, this is when I show them, but I don't let them control. So I could show them pictures of, oh, this is your grandparents, this is what they do, and I went to the zoo, remember the last time. But I won't even let them switch because I want to give them that at a later age when they can control, when they know what they're doing.
But they're not being left behind, because you mentioned taking technology for a child is making them handicapped. But, you know, children nowadays, and even at a younger age, knows how to, you know, and when you look at that, do you think it's like development for the age, or do you think it's okay, you know, just wait a bit longer and then just let them, you know, don't let them control the technology?
I mean, personally, I think they can afford to wait a bit. They don't have to start at 2. 2 is, yeah,
a bit too young.
A bit too young.
Okay.
Okay, I know you mentioned about the safe search, for example, but is there any plan in the future that parents can connect more with technology, but also link with their children as well?
Any plan in the future, meaning?
Like creating a new apps, for example, that can actually safe for children, but can be watched by us as well as parents.
So one thing about Google is that there are many parents there. We're having a lot of families working in Google now, and we're concerned about what our tools, how they're used in our homes. And so we're constantly building features in that help parents control content, that help parents decide what kind of experience their child will have online. So I mean, you will see many of these rolled out in coming future.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Lucian, we're going to go for a short break
Yes.
first. When we come back, we'll continue talking about
Sure.
technology and internet, and especially, how to
With
protect
kids,
them
yeah.
for kids.
Yes, we'll be right back. Here. All right, now if you see the penetration here in Indonesia, how do you see it, especially for kids, in terms of internet penetration?
I mean, I see many kids with mobile devices. I think this is prevalent throughout most of Asia. We see kids holding them, and they're getting younger, and they're holding, and they're watching videos, or they're playing games on them. Yeah, so I mean,
But
that's the
comparing
case.
Indonesia to any other Asian countries,
Countries.
which are some of them are quite developed, how do you see the comparison though?
I think it's quite similar. It's not very different. Indonesia is mostly mobile and not so much laptops. I think that's the difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about social media these days as well? Because many kids are exposed to social media as well. So how do you see it so far in Indonesia?
I think we need to understand that the ability to post something online is a very powerful tool.
Yeah.
I mean, you as journalists remember the old days where the printing press and then
Yeah.
you had the television stations, only those people could talk to the masses. And now everybody who posts is able to. And I think we need to respect that power, and then we need to teach children that when you post something, it is powerful. Let's do it for something good. Let's not be so frivolous about what we post, and be careful about what information we put out there, because when you put it out there, the whole world sees it.
So still encouraging children to be able to, speak their mind,
Yes.
express, freedom of speech, basically. But also teaching, how can you teach them though when they open social media? Sometimes it's not filtered as much as we'd
Yes.
like it to be, and then there's a lot of harmful words, there's a lot of, political,
Yep.
and how do you tell
Or
them,
hate speech,
or
yeah.
hate speech,
Yeah.
exactly, and they're so exposed to that. So it's not only pornography, but it's also social media. But yet, in a way, we should encourage them to give to able express and
Yes.
voice out themselves. But
Yes.
how do you tell them that?
I think sometimes we get blindsided. We think technology is the thing that we're looking at, but we're actually looking at the issues behind it. So it's always good to talk about the issues. When you see hate speech and then you talk to your child about hate speech occurs with or without technology. Right? When they go to school, somebody says something mean to somebody else. Is that right or wrong?
And
What
that
do we
is already
do?
hate speech.
And then we bring that to technology and social media, and we say that you shouldn't behave like that because we don't do that in real life either. Yeah. So
Because this just happened like a couple months ago with a 15-year-old boy who just expressed how he feels about somebody important in the country, and suddenly after a couple of days or weeks, he got approached by these guys and kidnapped him, and I tried to confront
Oh,
him.
dear, yeah.
So it happens like that in Indonesia. So how do we actually try to tell them that don't actually open your statement there, or just try to avoid the social
I mean,
media
are
for
they
quite some
young
time?
enough to be able to, filter bad or right or wrong, and all that? And sometimes, even though you mentioned that we need to be constantly with our children
Yeah.
as they're
Yeah.
playing technology, but sometimes we were not, and they're able to do it on themselves. And especially children maybe above the age of 13, let's say 14, 15.
Are more
Wow.
responsible,
Yeah.
actually. basically.
Yeah, I mean, when they're older, they can boil down the issues. Sometimes it's good to just get them to summarize, right? What is the topic you see? What are the things that trouble you? And then we can talk about it at night when I come home. So at least they learn how to formulate their thoughts, and then they learn how to articulate like what troubles them or what makes them feel strongly about this issue.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to be more connected with them as
We
well.
do.
So they don't need to express it all the time towards social media.
That's right, that's
Yes.
right.
But like, I know you mentioned earlier, like off air, like it's more important to gain more dynamic conversation with your kids
Yes.
rather than just blaming on technology. So, but is it actually occur in other countries as well outside Indonesia, this type of issue?
This issue is prevalent everywhere. I mean, what we are seeing is, I think parents sometimes we go like, we're very tired. Is there something that I can give you, and then you just don't bother me for 2 hours?
Exactly.
We
That
go
is
home and just wanna
so
sleep.
True.
Right?
Yes.
Yes, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, I feel the same as every other parent, but at the same time, I remember I signed up for this, right? I mean,
I signed up to be a parent.
I signed up to be a parent,
So I have to do
and this
my
is part of the
duty.
job, and this is part of bringing them up. And then I find joy in it. I find joy when they learn something new. I find joy when we talk about something deep, not just about, oh, how was your day, homework? Okay, that's it. If we talk about something deep, there's a real meaningful connection, and I hope that lasts the whole lifetime.
How about educating the parents itself to be able to
Exactly.
communicate more with the children? Because parents, like we mentioned just now, are tired, and it's so hard to bring yourself, to be acting as someone that is happy and enthusiastic about teaching them.
I mean, we possibly need to look at kind of a larger picture as working parents. How do we balance work, home, and then our own time? What gives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are priorities that we need to make as a society.
Are there any applications or anything that Google probably has to be able to,
Strictly committed for kids. Right?
to be able to educate
yeah,
their
yeah.
parents
Like a tutorial.
to actually integrate these things into your daily life so that you can communicate like this with your children. Is there anything like
We don't have anything that
pointers
comprehensive.
or
Yeah, but we do have the Google Safety Center. So it's google.com/safety center. There's some tips on there where you can talk about how to turn on some settings, what things are best practices.
Okay.
Yeah, we can pick up tips along the way. And there are many families that share what they do. If you have seen, some families have a contract they get their children to agree to before giving them their first mobile phone.
wow, never thought about
Contract.
that.
It's just these are the rules.
Just
Okay.
Do you agree to them before I give you your mobile phone? And
Well,
then they
I
go like,
think-
I agree. And then, meaning like, parents get to check on, who sends you messages, you're not going to object to that, and things like that.
Oh, through the internet or just through black and white paper
Black and white
between the
paper,
parent and
between the
children?
parent and child.
I see. Okay.
Would
and
you do that?
I would do that. Everything is about legality.
That's
here
interesting,
and,
basically. Yeah.
And where do you find such thing going on? In which country?
So,
They
I mean,
actually done that?
if you, so the US has many parents who've done it, Singapore, there were a few, you kind of craft this up for your own family based on what you believe in, right? Like,
Do you do that?
Do I do that? So my children know my rules very well. They know that we have a charging station in the living room. No devices are brought to their rooms ever.
Good.
Wow, that's good. Actually, it's better like that because radiation and all that is not
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I tell my son.
All right. What do we see? Okay. That is you, right?
Are you giving a tutorial here
Yeah.
or
Yeah, we had an event yesterday. We met up with some parents and we talked about some tips and tricks on what parents can do.
wow?
Alright.
And what are some of the things that you shared here with the parents? that
So we
perhaps
shared
you can tell
about
us a bit about?
the importance of having a conversation with your child
Okay,
about technology.
communication, huh?
That's
And
right.
then?
Yeah, but I believe since it's a global issue as well, I think the problem is not with our kids.
It's about us.
It's about parents, basically.
Parents.
I hate to break it to us, but I think we need to do a better job of parenting.
Which is right.
Which is right. I'm glad.
Which is true because parents are so obsessed with their technologies as well. But the
Yes.
thing is, parents can't live without their technology, without their devices
Or
at
we
all.
we're not good in technology as well. We're
Oh.
just too busy for work, but
That's
No-
true.
no-
We
no
don't
connection
know
with technology.
What are the ethics of technology? Perhaps you can share a little bit. Are there certain regulations that we as adults need to follow in order to use technology? Not
especially
just
gaming
children,
industry is
not
huge
just
as well,
children,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about regulations, but I do know that we need to be more active in exploring what they use. So I know many parents tell me that it took me so long to learn Facebook. I'm not going to learn the next thing the kids jump into because it's just too difficult. But anytime when we think that way, then the child kind of goes on without us,
That's true.
right? But
Parents get
we
left
need to at
behind.
least know, or we get a fellow parent who's actually figured out how this thing works to teach us, tell us. So I mean, I'm in favor of gathering parents together and sharing best tips. What works in your family might work in my family, and then we exchange and we get better at this.
So parents need to be smarter and more developed than their children because children is going to beat them one day.
Yes, they're fast.
And they should.
That
It's-
they're
it's
fast
their
and
era.
They're so smart.
Yeah.
Sometimes my son at the age of 4 knows what to do, in terms of using my phone compared to me, and I go, what?
How did you get that?
How do you know that? That's freaky. And then it just comes to show that they're able to know, a lot more than us. And
Yes.
and the thing is, are we able to beat them in that? Considering how the generation is moving so fast,
Yeah.
and then the era is moving so fast as well. Are we able to do that?
I think first of all, it's not a competition to see who's better, right?
Who's a faster learner?
Learner, yeah.
But the main thing is when we're excited about, like when they come with something new, we shouldn't go like, why did you do that? Or we should be excited that they will figure something out because it is an amazing thing to discover how to do something. So like for my son, 9 years old, he figured out how to make his messages big and small, fireworks and everything. And I was like, how on earth did you do that? I didn't know that was built in. And then I realized he's been reading up on all the tips, the help pages and everything. And I wanted to encourage him, continue reading, but let me know what new things you find. So be willing to learn from them as well. Don't just think that it has to be one way and I only the things I teach you should do, things I don't teach you shouldn't. Yeah, so be engaged in a two-way conversation.
And
Also games, for
Yeah.
example. There are lots of games that are connected with horror or
killing,
thriller,
violence, yes.
But they're really like very related to these kids as well. And I just recognized this game from my son, and I just asked him, "How did you get that?" Or from my friend in school. And basically, they actually play that kind of game. And before I try to judge the game more, I try to Google it and try to find out about the game. And basically, it's not that dangerous. But of course, there's a thriller, there's a like a horror in it. But it's like a dark side of Disney, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how do we know that is it dangerous or not? It's very
Is it
important.
safe for your children?
So, I mean, there are good websites like Common Sense Media.
Common Sense Media.
Yeah, actually has a list of like they do movie reviews, game reviews, book reviews, and these are done by parents for
Alright.
children. So they tell you like,
Okay.
oh, this one has violent themes or themes that are not appropriate for a certain age. So it gives you a very quick starter. Like, should I watch this movie with my child? Should I bring them to this, or should I buy this book? Yeah, it helps a lot.
Is it important for a lot of websites to actually put, to actually place like maybe, this is only safe for this certain age and not? Is it important for that? Because a lot of the games do not have that, right?
Games. Yeah, but some they have like from the console they
okay.
have it.
Yep.
But in the apps I don't know.
In the App Store, you can actually turn on parental controls.
Parental control.
So
Yeah.
it filter automatically.
And then
for
it tells you like what age do you want
Oh, so
to
there's
show,
such a
yeah,
thing.
From the Google
Okay.
Play, yeah?
on Google Play. Yes.
Okay, we can try that because I didn't know which one.
So you can set like ages 3 plus and below. So all the apps you get are like for 3 plus and below or 12 plus and below. So you can move it up as your child grows older.
All right.
Okay. And now I know I read some of rules or regulation about kids or age that can actually have their own gadgets. And I saw like 13 years of age. But I don't know, what do you think about it?
It depends. I mean, it is difficult because sometimes they do need it, right? They might need it for school. My children, they got their first gadgets when they were 8 or 9.
Laptop?
No, I mean their first mobile.
Mobile, okay.
Yeah, because they had to go to school on their own. So they take the public bus
I see.
and we use it to kind of see where they are
Oh, yeah. So for safety purposes.
for safety
yeah?
purposes.
What
And
about schools itself? Do you think it's important for schools right now to incorporate technology and incorporate internet into their daily, studying or academic?
Oh, of course. I mean, I think technology is going to be the difference maker in the future, right? We're going to use technology to do so many different things. So, I mean, you're talking about curing cancer, you're talking about solving the biggest problems we have. Technology is a great tool to have. Without it, we'll kind of move backwards in time.
All right.
Yeah.
And if you see any other country, I know lots of countries already apply a very high technology in their system. So is it, if you compare Asia to European countries, how do you see it?
I think we're catching up. I mean, we're definitely putting a lot of investment in terms of education in technology, and we think, I mean, many schools in Asia are moving towards the let's do things online, let's do things through laptops instead of pen and paper. I think it's a good step forward.
All right. Now we know. It's a lot of information for us parents here because I think, what I'm getting from Lucian here is that we cannot avoid a run away from technology. We just have to, learn how to do it the best we can, right?
We go to the forest.
Because I was thinking, like,
Hunting.
is it better for me to stop? Living in the olden days, So the thing is that we can't run away from technology, and this is going to keep on developing and keep on coming to us,
Yeah.
right? Bigger and better.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I suppose, like, for our generation, we can either be afraid of it and then feel like, oh, it's inevitable, it's coming to get us, or we can love it and go like, it enables us to do so much. So if we teach parents, like, in families, what technology makes your life easier, right? There are many technologies that help us with our daily tasks. And when we get excited about it, then we love it more, and then we can engage in a meaningful conversation with our children.
Exactly. So
All
being
right.
positive about technology first.
Okay, Lucian, thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
being
much,
here.
Lucian.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.